well. Let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. So they play the New England Patriots this week. Joe Burrow had said originally that he planned to come back by Thanksgiving or on Thanksgiving. Now he's indicating that he wants to come back this Sunday. He's apparently been practicing, giving full practice. Reporters have tried to get T. Higgins and other players to kind of comment on it. He said he thinks he's going to play because he asked Joe, and Joe just smiled. Joe gave him the kind of shaky smile. I don't really know what that. I mean, I can imagine it, but okay, T, whatever. They don't have Jamar Chase this weekend either because of the suspension that was upheld in historic fashion. Bengals making history, and I don't know that I want Joe to come back because, first of all, as a football fan, yeah, I want to watch Joe Burrow play football. I think if you enjoy watching football, you enjoy watching Joseph Burrow throw the pigskin around. That being said, this team sucks. Joe Burrow is a guy who, until there is a negative 1,000% chance that they make the playoffs, in his mind, they're a playoff team. That's just his mindset, and that's what makes him so good. But the problem for most of these games has not been the offense. It has been the defense. Joe Flacco has put up career numbers at points against the Bears, against the Jets, and it still wasn't enough to win these football games. And we have talked about that. We talked about that long ago when Joe got hurt. If you win the Bears and the Jets games, yeah, sure, Joe's going to come back and you can probably make the playoffs. They didn't do that. And so now it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is because you can put up 50 points and somehow the defense is still going to allow 51. And people are arguing that Joe Burrow elevates the entire team. Yeah, but how much further can you elevate this offense? And is elevating this team, is that going to make Geno Stone tackle better? Dude, that's another thing. I want to see Tyson Anderson out there. Give Tyson Anderson a shot. Give Dejon Anthony a shot. Because Geno Stone showed zero effort against the Steelers. And he was a guy that I liked that they brought in originally. And he's just checked out. So give these other guys a shot. Let's see it literally cannot get worse. This team is the worst defense in the history of the NFL in the Super Bowl era. We literally cannot get worse. You cannot get ranked worse than what you already are. So, I don't know, do open tryouts and just start signing people off the street. See if you can get. But Joe Burrow coming in, unless he's going to play corner, is not going to do anything for us. It's not helpful. And I hate saying that. I really like Joe Burrow. I really want to see Joe Burrow play football. But I would hate to sit on this podcast right now and say to you, Joe Burrow needs to come in and play because we still have a chance to make the playoffs. And then 2 weeks from now, we're saying Joe Burrow has an ACL tear. He's out for the majority of next season as well. Right? I mean, what are we playing for this season? You're not going to make the playoffs. Even if you keep Zach around, okay, keep him for next year. Cool, whatever. But we need a cornerback. And this is a good, at the top level, this is a good draft for cornerbacks. Caleb Downs out of Ohio State. So if you can get him, that elevates the defense. I just don't know what Joe Burrow. I think the risk does not outweigh the reward here. We get to watch Joe Burrow play football. Cool. Love that. Risk Joe Burrow getting an ACL tear and being out all of next season. I'd rather watch Joe Burrow play meaningful football next year. I don't know your thoughts on that.
I mean, to start off, I think the injury thing, it's similar to the Jackson Dart conversation we had last week. I don't think this fear of injury should keep your best quarterback on the bench. And there's a few different reasons that we talked about last week, but since we're talking about the Bengals, let's look at who they have ahead of them, right? You would have to win outright or have really, if you have 2 losses, it's almost impossible to make the playoffs. If you have 1 loss, you have a decent chance. And if you win outright, you should be in there. So you have to win outright or get close to it. When I'm looking at the next couple of games, if Joe Burrow comes against the Patriots and he's able to play, to me, you can win that game. It's very unlikely, but you still can win that game, right? I don't know what the path would look like there, but I'll put it this way. If you don't have Joe Burrow, to me, that's an easy loss. No question at all. So I would have Joe Burrow there because if you lose that game, then at least you can kind of make your decisions based off there. And if they want to bench Joe Burrow, I don't think they will. I don't think Joe Burrow will want to be benched at any point this season, especially with Zach Taylor, in my opinion, not being perhaps the boldest of coaches out there. Right. I think if Joe Burrow says, I'm going to play, that's the decision. But looking at what's coming up in the season, you have 2 games against the Ravens. To me, you win those 2 games somehow, right? You find ways to make that work. That's a team that's right above you in that division. And then you're only, 3 games away from the Steelers? It's not crazy to think the Bengals can win this, win that division. It isn't. And you still have a chance. I think you have to fight for it because the other option, if you go and you move on from Zach Taylor, to some extent, there will be some amount of rebuilding, right? The next coach will not agree with every single roster decision Zach Taylor has made in his time, as head coach. They're probably going to move on from some of those big players in offense that Joe Burrow spent the entire offseason fighting, basically the entire last 3 off seasons when you really get down to it, fighting for the Bengals to re-sign. The next coach might just say, you know what, let's get rid of one of these top 2 receivers so we can get some guys on defense with the draft capital or whatever. So I think the Bengals are right there on the cusp of a rebuild. And if I was a Bengals fan, I just would not want to see that, right? To me, there's too much risk there. Joe Burrow has plenty of years left to play football, but with his injury history, who knows what it actually looks like, He could very well have only 4 years left, right? That's a realistic timeline here. So I think you got to maximize it. You got to get him on the field and try to win as many games as you can, if for no other reason but to avoid the rebuild.
Okay. I mean, I get it. I get that take, and I respect it. I'm looking at the Bengals' luck, man. And our luck, I mean, it happened with Eric All last year. He was playing great, playing phenomenal, and around this time he tore his ACL, and he's been out this entire season. And, I get the injury thing. You can't predict that. You can't let that hold you back necessarily. But I don't know what they're playing for, and I'd hate to lose all the potential of next season on a 10% chance of this season.
I mean, I still think you're playing for the playoffs. I think you're closing the door a little too early. I think you need to – if they lose the next 2 games, then, yeah, you could close that door. Even though I think technically they have some small chance of still making it, you could close that door. But they haven't gotten there yet. Also, against the Patriots specifically, that's a team that uses a lot of scheming more so than just raw force to get past the quarterback. And you know who's one of the best quarterbacks in the league at reading scheming? Joe Burrow. So I think against the Patriots – a team that may not have the biggest pass rushers, but they just use them well, I think you want Joe Burrow out there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.